Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Game Changer. I'm your host Mariam Zia. Viewers, in today's show we will talk about China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. When we talk about bilateral relations between China and Pakistan, we know that governments and people of both countries have been working hard to enrich the relations between the two countries. When we talk about CPEC, we know that this project was launched in 2015 with a project value amounting at $46 billion. And now the project amount values at $65 billion. In today's show, we will talk about how CPEC will enhance regional connectivity and will boost the trade relations among different nations of the region. We will talk about the progress of short-term, medium-term and long-term plans of different projects of CPEC. To discuss this and more, I have been joined in the studios by Mr. Hamayoun, who is an expert on international affairs and a senior analyst. And with him, I've been joined in the studios by Mr. Shaharyar, who is a senior analyst and an expert on international relations. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining in today's show. Mr. Hamayoun, let me start by asking the first and basic question. What is the progress of CPEC as of today? And specifically, if we look at the short-term projects that were supposed to be completed in 2020.
Thank you, Mariam. I think it's a very important question because there's sort of a general perception in last couple of months or probably in last 1 year that somehow there is like a slowness in certain projects, but that's completely untrue and unfair to associate such things with CPEC. The reason why CPEC, as you just mentioned, started in 2015 and the idea was conceived a couple of years earlier as well when the Belt and Road Initiative was announced by the Chinese Prime Minister and Chinese President. So when they started this project in 2015, the focus back then with Pakistan was that we need to start more projects on energy and infrastructure. And the reason why, because back then in 2015, Pakistan was losing almost 2% of its GDP because of the electricity shortages. And hence, the project focus was in the early phase was on energy and infrastructure. And in the first phase, it was the early harvest project where we completed almost 5,000 megawatt of electricity into our national grid. And then we had this short-term project, which was by 2020. We almost completed almost 2,500 megawatt. And then now we have medium-term, which is till 2025. And then we have long-term, which is 2030. So in that regard, the initial phase, which was started by Pakistan Muslim League government and Pakistan People's Party's government, it almost completed all the objectives that it had. It had almost added 6,800 megawatt of electricity.
Right.
So in that regard, it is very successful. It is very well on track. And now we're entering into the second phase.
While talking about that, the project is going on track. We talk about the Gwadar port. That is one of the major aspects of CPEC. Mr. Shaharyar, what do you say about the progress that has been going on Gwadar port and how the government can further fast speed the process?
So, Mariam, I basically see the Gwadar port as a jewel in the crown of CPEC.
Of course.
So, it's a very strategic port. It's a deep water seaport. And the location is very lucrative because it connects three regions. It connects Central Asia to the Arabian Sea and through the Arabian Sea to the Indian Ocean. It also connects the Middle East. And it also connects the Central Asian republics and it gives them access to the seaport. We have to see that Afghanistan and Central Asian republics, they're all landlocked countries.
Of course.
So this is the only access that they have. Other than that, if you look at China, it gives China an alternative port because 60% of China's oil energy comes from the Middle East.
We are talking about the travel distance that has been reduced with the progress of Gwadar port. But let's talk about the location advantage that could be harnessed. Like we know that Pakistan lies at the intersection of South Asia, Central Asia and China. So how can we further enhance this
I think I'll agree with what Shaharyar was saying. Apart from its location, which is significant for China, which reduces the oil export from Middle East towards Western China and then on towards the Eastern China, it is also very significant for Pakistan because for last many years we only had two ports, Port Qasim and Karachi port, and they are significantly under a lot of stress and burden because these were catering to all the needs of Pakistan. And then their proximity close to the Indian side was also, strategically speaking, something which in case of an eventuality, ports are always attacked as well sometimes.
Of course.
So in that regard, Gwadar port gives Pakistan a little more strategic depth because it's around 700 to 800 miles away from Karachi port or the Indian border. Having said that, it's also at the intersection, as you were saying, of the West Asia, East Asia and South Asia at the same time. So using this location, a majority of the oil export comes through the Strait of Hormuz. So Gwadar is on the mouth of Strait of Hormuz. So if we can utilize that, it is also going to become a very important strategic port for the oil and gas traveling as well. Apart from that, the whole idea of Gwadar was that, we need to have this connectivity with the rest of the country, so that we could export our commodities, we could export our goods using Gwadar ports towards Eastern Europe, towards China, towards not necessarily on China, to Central Asia, to Afghanistan, to Iran and other places. So I think in that regard, it's a very, very important and strategic port.
Of course, it is very strategic, and we know that Gwadar port is operational now, as the government has started receiving goods and imports of bulk cargoes in the last couple of days we have seen. So what do you see the significance of this in the future, and how would it ultimately impact the social economic development of the region?
So when it comes to the Gwadar port, economists are basically estimating that the transit value of revenue that will be generated through this port is around $70 billion annually. So that's a huge volume that can be traded through this port. Other than that, there is like a sense of deprivation when it comes to Balochistan. There is a sense of deprivation among the people when it comes to Gwadar. So
but we see a lot of vocational training institutions are being...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So under this whole framework of the Gwadar port, it's not just a port. So with the cooperation of the Chinese government, there is a technical and vocational training institute that is being developed. It's in the final stages as well. And the local people of Gwadar will get the technical and vocational training to basically be part of this whole effort. Other than that, there is a free port that is being developed over there. There is an East Bay highway that is like that has been completed, and that has connected the Gwadar port with the Makran coastal highway, and that gives a direct connection to Karachi as well. So these are the initiatives that will basically bring the people up to par and give employment opportunities and prosperity to the local people as well.
Right. We are talking about that it would ultimately bring prosperity to the local people, and we know that vocational and technical training institutes has been inaugurated recently in Balochistan. That would enhance the skill set of the Baloch youth. Let's talk about the infrastructure and information network integration that we know that China is very much advanced in information technology. How can we cooperate through CPEC in these areas, and what are the prospects?
I think I'll just add to the previous question a little bit more. We are also building an international airport there, which is working rigorously. The government is working rigorously on the progress of that. And then we also have a coal power project there, which is 300 megawatt, which is going to supply a lot of electricity, not only to Gwadar, but the neighboring Makran coastal area and all the regions as well. And other than that, there are other projects. There's a special economic zone which is being built, and there's a lot of companies which have already come there. So all these three things are going to create Gwadar as a hub of economic activity in the coming days, hopefully. Coming back to your question, information technology and how we can utilize CPEC. You know, China is an expert in information technology, artificial intelligence, telecommunication. So the first project under CPEC, which is already completed, was the fiber optics cable coming from Gujarat to Islamabad, and from there to the Karachi seaport. It's already been completed, and that is something which is going to connect us with the 5G internet technology. And 5G, as everybody is believing, is going to revolutionize not only the humankind, it's going to revolutionize the way we see the world, the way we work. It's going to have impact on medicine, it is going to have impact on agriculture. So the world is going to be revolutionized in coming days and months with this 5G technology. And with the Chinese help of artificial intelligence using 5G, and Huawei is a company from the Chinese side which is also experimenting that on a smaller scale in Pakistan. So with the help of China, I think this is something which Pakistan was lacking for last many years. our ingress into the information technology world. You know, our neighboring country, India, has a huge IT potential. So if we could utilize the Chinese expertise and bring this IT technology into Pakistan and integrate that in our business, in our system, in agriculture, in our health, in almost every field, I think Pakistan can gain tremendously.
Right. I want to talk about special economic zones that have been developed. What is the timeline of these special economic zones? What is the progress on these zones?
So, Mariam, in total there are 9 special economic zones that are being constructed. 4 of them are already almost at the stage of completion, and these are the Rashakai Special Economic Zone, which is based in Nowshera. Then there's the Dhabeji Special Economic Zone in Thatta, Sindh, and then there's the Bostan Special Economic Zone, which is based in Pashin, very close to Quetta, and then the Iqbal Special Economic Zone, which is based in Faisalabad. So there are like various sectors that are being targeted by these special economic zones. So they are tourism and hospitality. Other than that, housing and the construction industry will get a boost. IT services, automobiles. So these are the key sectors that will be developed using these special economic zones.
There is a lot of potential when we talk about these special economic zones. Let's talk about the potential of these special economic zones and what skill set are required by the governments to, you know, maximize the benefits of these special economic zones.
I think this is a very special business development model throughout the world, and China has this experience that when they opened up in 1970s, they started developing their eastern coast, and they have a lot of special economic zones. We also need to understand that not all special economic zones are a successful model, but learning from the Chinese experience, I think Pakistan has, as Shaharyar was saying, we have identified 9 special economic zones, and out of 9, now we have 3 to 4 high priority special economic zones, which are already in the phase of commencing, and we have application from outside where companies are going to come. So the first thing they're going to do, you know, Pakistan needs a lot of job creation.
Of course.
There's a lot of, now in China, the development of business is getting slightly difficult because the labor is becoming expensive, the electricity and other things are becoming expensive. So this idea of developing these special economic zone is where you have high concentration of population, where you have connectivity with the rest of the world. So you bring these, and these special 4 economic zones which Shaharyar mentioned, you have processing and manufacturing, you have home appliances, you have pharmaceutical, you have electronics. So there's like a host of different industry which is going to, in some cases, relocate from China, and in some cases, new industry is going to come into Pakistan. They will have joint ventures with Pakistani companies. They will develop not necessarily new businesses, but they probably will bring old businesses into Pakistan and have blockchain industry. They will have special emphasis on exporting, because in different special economic zones, you have this model that, you know, this industry can export 50%, 80%. So most of the businesses that is going to generate product and services here most likely will be exported to outside, and maybe 10, 5, depending upon the agreements which are with the local government, will create things for Pakistani population as well.
Right. So Mr. Hamayoun is mentioning about the industries that are needed to be established and what industries needs to be, you know, bringing the products from outside. So what kind of homework is needed at home by the industries to, you know, maximize the inputs of these?
I would also like to add to the framework of special economic zones and the incentives that the government is providing to international companies to relocate to Pakistan.
What about the financial aspects of it?
Right. So these special economic zones are giving a 10-year tax holiday on all income that will be generated in these special economic zones. Other than that, as Hamayoun mentioned, there's like a whole sector of technical and vocational training that will also be added to these special economic zones to basically get the Pakistani human resource at par with international standards who can then perform and like work in these sectors. So when it comes to the local industry getting in par with the international, so there are like a lot of joint ventures that are already being planned or are in process with Chinese industries. So the transfer of technology that will be taking place in combination with the Pakistani human resource and the Chinese human resource, that is like something that we really have to look forward to, and that will be the biggest gain that will be coming from these special economic zones, other than the fact that we'll be making products and will be able to export them to internationally using our ports.
Right, we will be able to export these, and we will be talking more about the tax concessions and financial aspects of this, but we have to take a short break here, and when we come back we will talk about the impacts that CPEC would be having on the region and the concerns shown by IMF and other international players. So back, we are talking about China-Pakistan economic corridor and the financial aspects of CPEC. Mr. Hamayoun, when we talk about CPEC, what are the financial obligations under CPEC? And as Mr. Shaharyar was mentioning earlier about the tax concessions, what are the terms of repayment for Pakistan?
Okay, you know, this is a very interesting and a complex topic in a way, because the Western media, particularly when we were discussing before the program, it's either the United States of America, which had issues with China, or the Chinese upcoming financial institution, or Chinese prowess in the international institution, and on the other side it's India, which does not want China-Pakistan economic corridor to flourish. So coming back to this, I just want to add one more thing, which Shaharyar was earlier talking about, the special economic zones. It's not only China and Pakistani companies who can come there, it's like it's open for everybody.
Of course,
so that's
for the whole development of whole region.
Absolutely, whole region. Any country can come in if they want to have these conditions, if they apply to these conditions and they like to bring their industry here, it's welcome. So coming back to this financial implication, there are like two implications. For example, we need to understand CPEC is basically a combination of investments, it's a combination of soft loans, it's a combination of grants. So it's like basically a whole package. It's not like something China has given to Pakistan and we just have to repay the loan. Now coming back to the total financial...
There are a lot of misconceptions amongst people.
And those misconceptions are because of the Western narrative media, against BRI and against China-Pakistan economic corridor. So out of, as of now, $22 to $23 billion has been invested in any agriculture, energy sector, and that's on a very, very favorable term. At max is 3% loan that which we have to give, and over a period of 25 years, sometime if you have to do the aggregate, it comes down to 2 to 1.5%, which is like peanut. Pakistan has been taking IMF loan at the rate of 6 to 7% at some times, at some level. And then other than that, Chinese share of loan in the overall loan which Pakistan has taken is almost 18 to 19%. Rest of the loan is for other bilateral donors or international financial institution. And we have to return that loan over a period of 15, 20 years, depending upon some of the loan we have to return. For example, in last pandemic, when Pakistan was facing a lot of pressure, so China has rolled over its repayment of loan for the next year. They have given us like a blanket check that you don't have to give it, and which was a huge financial gain for Pakistani economy back then. So in terms of our relationship with China, I think...
But still there are a lot of concerns, and I want to talk about that, that when we talk about these concerns, what do you think it would have any impact on the progress of this project?
No, I personally don't think there will be any impact on the progress at all, especially in regards to the loans that Mr. Hamayoun was talking about. I personally think they're very favorable, and after the latest JCC meeting that was held in November last year, I think the progress of CPEC programs and the projects will increase. And recently the ML1 railway project that we should also talk about has also been improved.
Let's talk about ML1 project, mainline project 1. What is the progress of this and how this would impact the region? And also I want to ask you about the revenue generation by this project.
So this is basically a dual way railway project starting from Peshawar and goes on till Karachi. So it will revolutionize our railway system. Initially this project was estimated to be at around $6.8 billion. Unfortunately, a lot of work on this project wasn't done in the previous government. So now after the JCC meeting held in November last year, this project has finally been approved. but the evaluation of this project has also changed, and now it's like has ballooned up to over $10 billion. But the work will, I'm assuming the work will start very soon, and this will bring a lot of economic prosperity to Pakistan.
Right. What would you like to add on this development of mainline project?
I think railway has been neglected in last couple of years. It is something, if you see in developing countries, the transportation system and the cargo system. If you have a good cargo system and if you have good cargo mechanism in the passenger service, your emphasis or your pressure on other areas reduces a lot. So in ML1, when we are going to upgrade from the existing, which is like 60 to 80 kilometer per for the passenger train, we're going to upgrade into, I think, 120 plus. 120. And for the cargo, I think we're going to 140 plus kilometer per. So the transportation will tremendously, the whole idea is connectivity. Inter-regional connectivity within Pakistan, and then we also want to extend this inter-regional connectivity to the outside region. Pakistan wants to have this connectivity with Afghanistan to Central Asian countries. We also want to connect Gwadar port with the Iranian port, Chabahar port, so that this whole region will flourish. And the only reason Pakistan and the rest of the South Asia was not flourishing in the past because inter-regional trade was one of the least.
Of course.
So if China-Pakistan economic corridor gives us infrastructure, gives us mechanism, gives us digital connectivity, I think this is going to usher into a new area of economic stability for the entire region, and that's obviously going to create.
Of course, we're talking about, Mr. Shaharyar, about the connectivity of the project, but I want to point out about the environmental aspect assessment. Is that done before each project? And because we know that we are a victim of climate change, so is that done before initiation of each project? So
most of the mega projects that are being conducted under the CPEC, their environmental impact assessment has been done. When it comes to projects, energy related projects, there is some concern when it comes to coal fired projects, but that has been offset by including a lot of like wind power energy projects. A lot of like solar power energy projects have also been added, and then obviously a lot of hydro projects are also in the process. So the environmental impact assessment for all of those has been done with due diligence.
Right. So we are talking about the environmental aspect assessment that is done, but let's talk about special economic zones. That is an important aspect when we talk about China-Pakistan economic corridor. What is the need to develop these special economic zones, and what would be the impact of these special economic zones once these are completed?
One of the biggest reasons for developing special economic zone was Pakistan was lacking in industrialization, and China is a master of industrialization, and that's how China has developed its eastern coast and its western coast, and they have like enhanced its GDP through these special economic zones. So with the help of these first 3 special economic zone and then 9 special economic zone, I guess Pakistan is going to create an industrial base for its people. We are a ballooning economy. We have 220 million people, so we need to create jobs. We need to create industry. We need to create export-oriented industries. With these special economic zone, this is going to be done.
Right. We will talk more about the special economic zones and the impact of CPEC on prosperity of the region, but we have to take a short break. We are talking about China-Pakistan economic corridor and the prospects of CPEC on the region. Mr. Shaharyar, we were talking earlier about special economic zones, but when we talk about the strategic location of Pakistan, how CPEC and the location of Pakistan is impacting the region?
So Mariam, I basically see CPEC as an economic framework which basically harnesses Pakistan's strategic location, and it converts it into a model of economic prosperity and regional connectivity. So when we talk about regional connectivity, it's not just about trade. It's not just about starting special economic zones.
People-to-people contacts.
It's a lot of like people-to-people contacts.
Educational linkages.
Educational linkages, academic linkages, and people will basically exchange cultures. Traveling from Pakistan to Central Asia, Pakistan to Afghanistan, and bringing the whole region together. So whenever I envision the whole philosophy behind CPEC, I basically look at the European Union model, in which there are like no borders, people can travel freely, goods and services can be traded, and job opportunities are created, and people from the whole Euro region can travel across the region to like find jobs and build a better future. So I basically see CPEC as one of those projects that will bring this region closer. It will also create interdependencies when it comes to economic integration, and this will lead the region for overall prosperity.
Right. When we talk about CPEC, and as you were mentioning earlier, that there will be a lot of connectivity in the region, but when we talk about connectivity, Gwadar is one of the main pearls of CPEC, and Gwadar would basically give, gateway to all the region and all the areas to link together. So what do you see are the, challenges to the Gwadar port, if we specifically talk about that?
So when it comes to prosperity and development of the Gwadar port, one thing we have to keep in mind is to keep the local population engaged and give them economic opportunities, so they feel that they have ownership of the whole development process. So we have to make sure that when we are going through this economic development, the local people of Gwadar should not be left on their own. So I'm like very happy and very optimistic that the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mia Shehbaz Sharif, has basically launched a lot of projects for the social upliftment of the people.
We'll talk about those projects later in the show. So when we talk about Gwadar, what are the critical success factors for the success of CPEC and of Gwadar port?
So a few points that need to be kept in mind whenever we talk about Gwadar. First of all, the strategic location. So the Gwadar basically connects South Asia, it also connects Central Asia, and it's also a meeting point for all the oil trade that happens through the marine lines emanating from the Strait of Hormuz. So Gwadar is at that critical juncture that basically brings together all of these regions.
Right. But there are some challenges as well. We know that China is increasing its influence in the world by, economic prosperity rather than the military might. But there are some critical factors, and India is one of that. What is your opinion of
So I personally think that the whole CPEC project is basically a win-win for economic integration of the region. Obviously, there are certain power rivalries that are taking place, especially between India and Pakistan. Then there are also like great power politics that are being played between China and India. So there are like a lot of like geographical problems that are there for the region. And when we look into the future, and when this economic integration actually happens, it will develop stakes for all the regional powers.
But
and the stakes.
What are the reasons for concerns for India? And if we talk about other international powers as well, they are also raising some concerns on CPEC.
So there are like a lot of like pending border issues that have been pending since 1947, since the independence of this region when the British basically left. So Pakistan has a claim over the Kashmir areas, which have been illegally occupied by the Indian government. And in retaliation, India also lays claim to a lot of like areas, especially GB. These claims are obviously unfounded, but they basically have a claim that the CPEC route basically passes through GB, which is Pakistan's internal matter. So these are the friction points that are existing between these three countries. And as I mentioned earlier, as soon as economic integration happens, economic stakes of regional powers develop into the CPEC, these issues will be eventually resolved.
So you're talking about that it is attracting, other regional powers and international powers. What are the projects that international investors are looking towards?
So that's when we again move towards the whole model of the special economic zones. So what we have to basically understand is that the government of Pakistan, through these special economic zones, there are 9 in total and 4 of them are almost complete. So the government of Pakistan is offering very lucrative financial incentives for international industry to move to these special economic zones. So for example, there is a tax holiday for 10 years for any industry that settles or launches their operations from these SEZs. Then there is a one-time exemption of any power plants or any plants and machineries to be imported to Pakistan. So they will be exempt from any taxes. So these are very lucrative incentives for industry to relocate to these special economic zones.
So what are the major investments that has been made so far, especially by the international powers and regional powers, if we talk about?
So every special economic zone, according to their geographical location, have like some location-based advantages attached to them. So for example, if I talk about Rashakei, which is being implemented by a joint partnership between Pakistan and the CRBC construction company owned by the Chinese state. So that special economic zone is looking towards electronics, is looking towards IT exports, automobiles, marble manufacturing. That will basically, any manufacturing that is done in that special economic zone also gives you geographical advantages. So, for example, Rashakei is like connected to Afghanistan. Through Afghanistan, it goes to Central Asia. So, two-way flow of goods can happen from both these regions. Of course. So, Central Asia is like very abundantly rich when it comes to oil and gas, and that is like one of Pakistan's needs. So, two-way import-export flow of travel, goods and services, that will be.
We will talk more about regional connectivity in tomorrow's program. But I want to ask you about what are the possible challenges to CPEC?
So, the biggest challenge whenever a project of this scale occurs is that the local population has to be kept in the loop and they have to be made part of the development process. So that is the major challenge that I basically feel right now, that it will take time for these projects to start like delivering to the people of Pakistan. And for special economic zones to be lucrative for the Pakistani populace, we have to make sure that the population and the human resource that we are offering as a Pakistani nation is technically sound enough to be able to get their jobs in these special economic zones, and they have the competency and the skills to perform in these industries. So for that, as we mentioned earlier, that there is a huge component of technical and vocational training. There will be a lot of transfer of technology that will be taking place from the Chinese side. So that is like something to look forward to in the future.
And what are some of the other opportunities that, you know, of connectivity? If we talk about connectivity, what are the other opportunities?
So when it comes to CPEC, again, and talking about connectivity, the special economic zones will basically connect Pakistan to Central Asia, to Afghanistan, and when we go down towards the south, we talk about the Gwadar port. The Gwadar port connects the whole region actually, north of Pakistan, Afghanistan, Central Asia, and it gives them direct access through the Arabian Sea into the Indian Ocean. So that gives them a very direct and a very lucrative connectivity to Middle East and again to India as well. And it can be, these countries have a potential to basically export their resources to the world from.
Right, we're talking about the potential, and I want to share some latest tweets on Gwadar port and connectivity that we are discussing. There is a tweet by CPEC official that says that Gwadar port starts receiving government imports of bulk cargoes. So what's your take on this, and also what are other projects that government is initiating for the socio-economic development of people, local people especially?
So this is a very important tweet. So this kind of like shows that the Gwadar port is already functional and it is playing a very crucial role when it comes to the Afghan transit trade as well. So all of this, for example, I also like heard, saw in the news like previously that these ports are also used to basically provide goods and services. Much needed humanitarian aid that goes to Afghanistan also goes comes through Gwadar and like goes up to Afghanistan. So it's like already bearing fruit for our neighbors. This also like points towards the fact that these special economic zones the ones that are nearing completion, they are attracting a lot of foreign investment, and they're like attracting a lot of like interest from international competitors or international industries. So as soon as these 4 special economic zones are up and functioning, so we can already expect a lot of economic activity to be generated.
Right, like I asked earlier, that what are some of the projects that have been initiated by the government?
Okay, so I'll basically take the example of the Gwadar port, for example.
Right.
So lately the government of Pakistan has provided a very detailed incentive package for the people of Gwadar. So I would want to like touch upon that as well. So the Prime Minister of Pakistan very personally is spearheading the efforts to basically ensure that the people of Gwadar basically get access to clean drinking water and electricity. So that's like one of the major demands of the people of Gwadar as well. Other than that, another very optimistic step that has been taken by the federal government is that they are adding 500,000 families from Gwadar into the Benazir Income Support Program, which is the BIS program. Other than that, good news for the people of Gwadar as well, that even the Chinese government is investing 200 million yuans in various projects for the socio-economic uplift for the people of Gwadar. Other than that, we are also expecting some projects that are near completion. So one of them is a large-scale government hospital, which consists of 300 beds and 150 beds. Hospital is already ready for the people, which is huge, especially for the local people that are staying in Gwadar. Other than that, very important, there is a huge issue of clean drinking water in Gwadar. So 2 desalination plants are under construction. One has a capacity of 1.5 million gallons per day, and another much bigger desalination plant of 5 million gallons per day. They are both being constructed in Gwadar right now. Other than that, power projects. So there is a 300 megawatt power project that is like in the process of being completed. So all of these are incentives, and all of these projects are taking the local population into consideration. And as soon as Gwadar is nearing completion, starts like working, the people will also like feel that they're part of the development process.
Right, they will feel like part of the development process. And the next tweet is by Ministry of Planning, Development and Special Initiatives, which says that Gwadar Port has received another bulk vessel of DAP for Afghan transit trade and will discharge approximately 28,000 metric tons. Same will be transported via Chaman and Torkham. Your take?
Yeah, this basically goes to show that CPEC is just not for Pakistan only, and the whole region is like already benefiting from it.
Yes, especially the neighboring countries. Especially
the neighboring countries, and there will be a day coming much sooner that the Central Asian republics will also be benefiting from the lucrative offers that Gwadar port brings. And as soon as they basically start trading their goods and services using this infrastructure, the whole region will benefit on the whole.
Right, but keeping all the challenges in mind, how CPEC would become a game changer for Pakistan and the region?
So in 3 main areas, the CPEC is already a game changer, and it will continue to be a game changer. First of all, I can like see that it will basically become a project that glues together this whole region economically, and it will create incentives for all of these states to cooperate in terms of like economic terms. So that's like the biggest game changer. I also personally believe that exchanges of culture, people to people interactions will happen. It will also bring the much needed industrialization to Pakistan. These special economic zones will give financial incentives, and it will also give a regulatory framework to international industries and provide terms that are lucrative for them as well as Pakistan, to create a win-win situation in which all stakeholders that are involved in this process will be benefiting.
Right. So what are the factors or the industries that would be specifically benefited from these special economic zones, if we talk about?
So there are like various sectors that will be focused upon. First of all, the construction industry, that will basically get a huge boom from all the construction that is like already happening because of CPEC. Then Pakistan's energy needs through power projects will be basically met. Other than that, infrastructure, when it comes to road connectivity, when it comes to railway connectivity, so that's getting a boost. And then again, development of our human resource. As soon as they're engaged, as soon as they're like getting jobs, one rough estimate even says that CPEC will create more than 2 million jobs. When it's like really reached its potential.
And Pakistan has a lot of human resource available,
Exactly.
but we need skills development set.
Yeah.
So how do you see the technology transfer as well as the skills development that would be given to Pakistan in regards to CPEC?
All major special economic zones, even the free economic zone being developed in Gwadar comes with a technical and vocational training center. So
Right.
that is the most, I think, lucrative option for the local government. So all of these local populations that are surrounding these areas, they will get technical training from the Chinese government as well as the Pakistani government. So this transfer of technology that will take place will take into consideration the local human resource. Technology transfer will take place between 3 to 5 years, and it will give much more lucrative economic opportunities to the people of Pakistan.
And what about the educational linkages that would be taking place in regards to the CPEC?
So again, because this whole corridor is based upon regional connectivity, educational linkages basically mean that students from Pakistan will be able to travel very easily to Central Asia. People from Central Asia can come and basically take part in the tourism industry of Pakistan. Afghan students are already getting very lucrative offers from the government of Pakistan to study in Pakistani universities. So even very recently, the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan basically launched an Iqbal scholarship for Afghan students to study in Pakistani universities. So all of this will be possible when this whole like region is like very integrated, and overall there will be exchange of like people, cultures, students, and this will like eventually bring the whole region together.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shaharyar, for joining in and for your insights on this important topic. And we will discuss more on China-Pakistan economic corridor. In today's show, we talked about different aspects of China-Pakistan economic corridor. We talked about special economic zones. We talked about security issues. We talked about concerns of international parts. And we will talk about that how CPEC would be a game changer, not only for Pakistan, but for the region. That is all from Game Changer tonight. Take care. Allah Hafiz.